Hey, hello everybody. We are live here at the Major League Rugby Championship Guild. It is the American Rugby Rising and the Fantasy Ruckers pregame show, our own pregame show live here at the Guild. Gentlemen, Matt, Ryan Yee, Bill Baker. Man, we're here.
We're here. I mean, I feel like we've been counting down the days to this weekend. The travel plans have been put in place. We've been working out all the logistics, all the good stuff. And to think that we're finally here at Pawtucket, here at the Guild in Pawtucket for MLR Fan Fest is good.
It's been, what, 4 years of us doing this fantasy, and finally we make it out to a finals. And I'm glad we're here, and I'm glad we get to do it with you, Bill.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are here too. This is not my first finals, not to rub it in. It's only my second. I couldn't get out last year, but it's impressive what Major League Rugby is doing. I think they're stepping it up. They're doing something different every year. Like 3 years ago, they had Dropkick Murphys doing the show after the game, which was nice for the Free Jacks fans.
Mac actually liked Shaq.
Yes.
I like Shaq. Well, it's Big Diesel.
Oh,
it's
sorry.
Big Diesel to you, okay?
That's right. He had a heck of a pregame show. And side note of that, Will Hooley, who is here today, I'm going to do a show later as well. I'm hoping he will stop by at some point, say hello to us during this broadcast. He was warming up his kicks during that game when DJ Shaq Diesel was doing it, and he went right over myself and my buddy Mike here. The ball went right over and broke the screen right above Shaq, and it fell right down and right in Shaq. What is this? And it was. I was like, oh, that's expensive.
Well, obviously there's going to be hopefully many memorable experiences that happen just like that here at MLR Fan Fest and, of course, the championship game this afternoon. And again, we're going to break that all down here, how we got here, the weekend that's been. We're going to have guests on this show, which is going to be incredible. I think the most fun about this weekend, before we get into it so far, has been just what you said, Maddie. Like, it's been like a 4 or 5 year journey, at least for us at the Fantasy Ruckers, of building something, trying to create MLR content, and to finally meet people in person.
Absolutely.
And to finally see people that we've been Zooming over, yourself, like we met for the first time this weekend, right? And then last night at the opening festivities on Friday, to kind of meet those people, talk with people. It's been a lot of fun, so can't wait.
And it has. And it's also new. It's different what they're doing MLR, and specifically the stadium. You know, Centerville
Bank Stadium.
Thank you. Sorry for the bank and the brand sponsor there, but it's a perfect size for a Major League Rugby Championship, and maybe hopefully one day perfect size for a regular season match. Right, a little over 10,000 fans. Just open in May. Not the first rugby match though, because the Boston Banshees of WER played a couple matches here as well, and they had a good attendance coming down from New England, which is also, we'll talk about that later, will be a factor in today's championship match as well, those same people. But it's going to be fun to see the new stadium and check out more at the Guild as well.
Absolutely. So we're excited here to be at the Guild Pawtucket. I mean, let's have a look in terms of this is where it is. Fans are just starting to funnel in here. We got festivities outside. A great venue here at the Guild Pawtucket.
It has been. Treated us well. It's treating us well today. You know, they got a bunch of stuff outside. Like you said, they got cornhole. They got different things going on. And treated us well last night as well.
And don't forget, they have good beer.
They do.
Great beer. That's the most important part.
There you go.
I was informed there is an oatmeal porter or porter oatmeal, something like that, which is technically a breakfast beer. So if you're here now, it is brunch breakfast time. So go ahead and grab yourself an oatmeal porter and enjoy it.
Enjoy the show.
And also, real quick, listeners, come on by and say hello to us. We actually are giving away still things. We're not giving away these balls. This one's mine. But we're giving away T-shirts, we got stickers, we got koozies, and we're giving away a pair of tickets and a USA Eagles jersey to both the men's matches, which is just next week and the week after in Charlotte. So you can sign up. We do have a sheet somewhere here to sign up for it. And this guy, he's looking. Where is it?
Where's the sheet? Where's the sheet?
Right, where's Steven?
Steven Lowen, our community moderator, has been running around with that sheet. We'll make sure to get it to the people. He should be around. But it was great to see him also for the first time. But giveaways, T-shirt if you subscribe, and also a form to fill out as well. So, I mean, I guess before we get into kind of how we got here this afternoon between the Houston Sabercats and the New England Free Jacks. Let's talk about kind of the build up to this and what the league has been doing to kind of put rugby on the map, because I think we've talked about it all weekend long. These are the types of things that's going to make rugby grow, right? It's the thing that makes rugby special. It's the things that happen outside of the game. The social events, the fun boat race that happened last night between Free Jacks fans and Houston Sabercats fans.
We were not involved.
No. We did have to wake up this morning.
And also the Alex Corpusero rap. If you haven't heard that yet, go on either one of our social media channels, check it out. It's awesome.
Absolutely. But it's been so much fun. Again, it kicked off yesterday. Here at the Guild Pawtucket, and all the people that we met, the live music, the camaraderie amongst New England Free Jacks fans, at least for yesterday, and Houston Sabercats fans. You posted a pretty sweet picture between Spider and one of the Houston Sabercats
they're like the
fans.
Biggest fans, yeah.
Having love,
love,
throwing out.
Today maybe a little different.
Maybe a little bit different. But let's talk about that. How much fun has yesterday been and what today's going to be like in the build-up to this game?
Yeah, I mean, last night was, I think we saw a community almost come together in person. Yeah. We're seeing not just diehard fans, but also just people that are here to enjoy a final that maybe aren't a diehard fan of the Sabercats, maybe aren't a diehard fan of the New England Free Jacks, but they're just here because they love the MLR. And we're seeing a community come together in person, something that has kind of been, like you guys said, very virtual over the past time. So it's been awesome. Yeah, I've had a great time here.
We see Steven, he had to take his beer break, so went to go grab maybe one of those oatmeal pours, and now he has the clipboard to sign up for the potential free tickets giveaway. So hit that up and see if you can sign up there. But Bill, for you, man, how much fun was yesterday and being able to be a part of the festivities?
Well, one of the great things, it's not just for us, but any fan that showed up last night obviously had a great chance to meet us. But it's,
for what that's worth.
Exactly. For what that's worth. But it's the nature of the game as well. Everyone's so approachable. So we were hanging out with Will Hooley, Alex Corbusiero again. A number of Ben Holden is announcing the game later today. All these Eric Benson, from MLR, USA Rugby, everything. Sam Windsor, everybody. I mean, I'm stuttering because there's so many names I can't get it right.
Yes.
Blaine Scully's here, former USA captain and Captain USA overseas if you follow the Cardiff Blues. But it's just so great to meet these people and say hello to the fans. And, and it's great to hear from them that at least some of them listen to our shows.
Yeah, and I think this is like the one league, and it's at that point in this league where you have that type of access. And you have that type of ability to kind of get close with legends of the game, legends of USA Rugby, legends of within the kind of the MLR space in the community. And it's at that perfect time right now where if you're here, you're able to get access like no other league in this country kind of provides.
Yeah.
And that's the great point, right, is the access, right? Like, you're not getting that in other sports, right? Like, I mean, obviously we, as the Fantasy Ruckers, take it from a fantasy lens, but how many, like, NFL, hockey, any of the core four sports, like, you're not meeting the best player on your fantasy team. But yesterday, Maddie and I were talking with Jason Putros and just talking about kind of his impact on the game and things like that. Like, you're not getting that in any other sport, and it's awesome to have that, be at an event like this where you have that option and that ability and opportunity to do that.
And also another note, Major League Rugby has been amazing for us.
Yes.
Right, they've bent over backwards to help us make this happen, and I felt like we needed to be the ones like, oh, please, please, please. But no, they were so welcoming. They were all here. We have people here waiting to help us. Like, they want, hey, what do you need? And like, great, let's do this. So it's great.
So, I mean, in store for today, obviously, we got our show here where we're doing this. You got Will Hooley's pregame kickoff show that's happening after ours
Other
as
end
well.
Of the Gills,
I mean, it's cool to see with all this stuff, and I guess everyone's kind of counting down those minutes to get to that 2 o'clock kickoff. So,
well, I mean, we're literally, it's not that long away. So.
No, not at all. So, I guess why don't we talk about kind of how we got here today, right? Like, I mean, this season as a whole has been pretty incredible, and I think we've been on our show saying that this has been the best Major League Rugby season in the history of this league. And I know people say that it gets better and better, but I honestly say that in truth. The excitement, the parity, the players, the access within that, like, I feel like this season was a big leap forward. Of course, the league has faced its challenges and has had to deal with different things, which any startup league is going to do.
For sure.
But it does feel like this year was a big step up for that, especially with the competition on the field.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you see for 90% of the teams, there's great parity across the league. And you see teams that you've seen history of struggling, coming to the top and beating the top teams. And I think if you look across all the scores this year, you see everybody had a chance to beat everybody at some point this year, and we haven't had that. We haven't had that in years.
And also, you look at the wins and losses, say, from New England and Houston. You know, New England lost to Miami late in the season, beat them pretty easily earlier, and then had to face them again in the playoffs. Houston the same way. I believe Houston lost to Miami at one point, and then, you know, they lost to Chicago at one point. They lost to Utah at one point, and then beat them. So it's just the parity's there. It's getting there, and even you mentioned 90% of the league, you know, did well. Anthem. If you look at their score lines, there was a couple matches got out of control, but it's a good team.
I mean, for sure. And you look at the way they started. When we were in the first 5 weeks, we thought this is going to be a great year, because we saw Anthem coming out hot. And, it's unfortunate just kind of how they petered off with injuries and the depth and stuff like that. But instead of them, we got a Miami Sharks team that came through and kind of added to that and added the surprise of how good they did this year as well.
And what was interesting, too, which kept things very, very interesting, was the predictions we came into the season. And Bill, I don't know.
Right.
We were awful.
I know I made predictions on your show about what was going to transpire that did not come to fruition. You made predictions on our show that haven't come to fruition.
I mean, just look at Nola goal. That prediction hasn't come to fruition for 3 years.
I was 100% perfect.
But I think that reflects the type of season we had, right? Like, you didn't know what to expect, right? We've said this before, any given week.
Yeah.
Right? Any given week. And it did feel like that was a sentiment that really did stick this year especially. So you really could go in any match day and not know what to expect and come out with a result that you completely were opposite of what you were thinking,
100%.
which could very well happen this evening at this championship game.
Well, let me ask you guys, like, we look at this finals and how we got here this season, and we have this finals between Houston and New England. Do we think that the cream of the crop kind of rose to the top here?
So what I'll say, and I said this on your pregame show earlier this week, is it was survival of the fittest. That's what I think came out at the end for me, was that these two teams were put to the test, beat and battered, right? You're talking about injuries to top players, Jason Putros, Davey Kutzer,
Murphy.
Right. And despite those big losses, these are the two teams that are in the final, right? And I get it. Every league deals with injury, or every team, I should say, deals with injury, but it's how can you overcome that? And these two teams that we made it to the final here, which we'll talk about in terms of a match-by-match basis and how they did throughout their regular seasons, but it did feel like over-encompassing over that 17-match season, these two teams were able to withstand that the most. And you just talked about the depth of both of these teams. You go on the Houston side, right? You got Peter Aneasu, Seth Smith to go up on the front, right? You got AJ Alatimu stepping up at that 10 spot, right? For the New England Free Jacks, it feels like that they've been doing this for the past 3 years, right? And you just have guys, right? Like, who would expect that Dan Hollinshead, right, would be signed midway through the season and be making an impact for the New England Free Jacks the way he is? And here he is starting in a MLR championship match. So that's kind of reflective of how these teams got here and why these two teams are here in this final.
You know, I want to stop for a second here. I want to go ahead and show the guild again. It's starting to fill in. You see there's more and more people. We're hearing drums outside now. And for those of you not here yet, hopefully you get here, there's a lot going on outside. There's a whole courtyard of cornhole and food and all. And speaking of food, we got to get some at some point. But it's exciting. Come on down here.
Yeah, absolutely awesome here. So again, just another build-up to what is going to be the festivities this afternoon. Bill, for you, thoughts on the season? What was kind of stood out to you, and why, Maddie asked it, like in terms of how these two teams got here? Is it the way you expected, and do you think it is the right pairing here heading into the championship?
I do think it's the right pairing. At first I thought Utah would have been a better pairing, but you got to perform in the playoffs, and I don't think the loss in the playoffs is the reason the head coach for Utah is gone, but apparently he has another job, which would be great for that. I hate to see him get fired because Utah has grown. They had a really good year, a bad year, and a really good year, right? So for the Free Jacks at least, like any other, like you mentioned the other day, it's injuries, right? Botros guy's gone, but it's the next person up, step up, and the Free Jacks have always had a culture in that clubhouse. It's fun. You see in the social media, I mean, they're dancing, they're doing everything else. Not that other teams don't do that, but it seems to be more of a family in that clubhouse. So next guy, people have come in into the Free Jacks for a few games, got injured or out, and during those games they contributed.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Houston, at the beginning of the year, I thought, no way. They lost too many players to LA, everywhere else is just no way. But then they did the same thing. Okay, well, this is what we got. Let's get more. Let's do this and build off of that. And then they built a different brand of rugby to compete with. Now, New England beat Houston early in the year, but that was early in the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're missing players. Both teams are missing players going into today's match. So it's, and depending on I think the weather's actually going to be nice at game time. So it may not. The only thing difference, I think, is Houston's more used to the heat.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be hot.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about let's really dive deep into these two teams that we have here today, right? Let's start off with the Houston Sabercats. Obviously, they're coming off of a year, last regular season, where a memorable season, to say the least, right? What was it? A 14-2 year, I believe, and then heartbreak heartbreak in the playoffs, get upset by the then Dallas Jackals, who are obviously no longer with us, but a conversation for another day. Then they come into this season, and it did not feel as dominant from them throughout the year. I think there were games that you're like, yeah, okay, this is a Houston team that we can buy into, and then other matches where you're like, this is just not the same team.
Right.
They did play a little bit differently. They did have that physicality and that style that they had that you saw glimpses from last year, but they did bring, I feel like, an extra level of dynamicness that we didn't see last year, and here they are again. They got their first playoff win.
Yep.
Now they're in the championship. In terms of what you've seen from this year, Matt, from a tactical standpoint, what has changed from last year that let them take that extra step to this year?
To me, I mean, we talked to Ko in the past, and he just talked about how boring rugby they play, right? Like, they still have shades of that where they are going to make you play out. They're going to kick you the ball, and they're going to make you beat them, and they're going to come out with really good defensive structure. I think this year, but they brought a bit more dynamic play, especially on the offensive side. Like, when they get into the 22, they're going to play through their forwards, 100%. But how they get there has changed, right?
Yeah.
How they did it before was they'll make you make a mistake. Now they have guys in that back three. They have guys like Rufus McLean. They have guys like Drake Davis and Max Schumacher at the back, or Davey Kutzer when he was playing or when he wasn't hurt, to be able to get them into that 22 and be able to make those huge gains and have explosive plays. I think, for me, that's the biggest change that's happened this year.
Yeah. And for New England, I think right there is like they're able to score from anywhere in the field.
Yeah.
And you look at case in point last week against Chicago. Chicago had them 17-0, right?
Yeah.
And Chicago, an opponent needs to keep the foot on the gas against New England. And New England was able to come back in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, Rufus over there on McLean over on Houston. We got Balakana. Sorry. The New England Free Jacks have Balakana.
Come on, Bill.
They're fast. I know, sorry. I have Polo Balakana. So he's on the out. He's electrifying. He had undoubtedly the best defensive play of the year, at least.
Yep.
With that, which ended up being a game-saving, conference championship-saving tackle.
Correct.
So the Free Jacks have a lot of experience also at this level. There's a number of players in this team have been here.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure. Other sports, I think that really, really matters. I say this, well, whatever else. I'm not sure how much that matters in a game like this, but there's definitely chill. There's definitely butterflies
100%.
and nerves. So yeah, this is, if you ask me, this is an extremely equal matchup.
Yes, and we'll get into that. I have some of the
Yeah.
numbers that we'll talk about in terms of the tail of the tape, so to speak, and when we get into the match itself happening this afternoon. But in terms of that, I do agree with you. In terms of the seasons that these two teams had, Matt's talking about the dynamic play, almost the story of redemption, getting back to where they were last year in the Houston Sabercats.
Yeah.
New England kind of doing what they've done before, right? And doing it when people continue to doubt them, right? You're talking about a team that is going into winning their third possible MLR championship, third straight. And even us on our show, we talked about there were games where New England just did not look like New England, and we're like,
I'll be honest here. Start of the year, I thought they were dead. I thought that was it. And boy, do they. And we did this last year too. We did this last year at the exact same time.
Right.
We said, this isn't the New England team that we know. This isn't the championship-looking team. And what do they do? Just like the year before, they come and make us look silly. And they make sure that we regret and eat our words every time. And here they are.
And also New England lost 2 games straight late in the season.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought, all right, well, we're not.
Me too. Exactly.
And I try to be positive as a fan, but at the same time trying to be unbiased as well and really look at it.
In terms of players that we like the most from this season and guys that I've played. Obviously, Maddie and I, we love to talk players. We're fantasy diehards at the root of it. So we love to talk about guys that have really stood out for us. I'll toss it to you. One player from each team. Who has been most impressive for you guys throughout this season that we're going to possibly see this evening?
Well, I know for New England, I'm going to go with Paula Balakana, of course, but I think coming in week 4, I believe it was, is Brock Webster at fullback.
Yes.
And he moved a couple different positions, and now he really secured that fullback position. And he's that Reese McDonald. I don't think he's as good as Reese, but he's that sparky, quick player that really make a difference, because I think maybe he's, underappreciated, let's say, from the opponents. Yeah. And, of course, with Houston, I mean, I love AJ, obviously. There's Don McKenna. They're just strong players, and, of course, I love Seth Smith. He's coming off the bench for this match. Just a great kid, and I think he can actually make an impact at, he's 20 years old now, I think?
Yeah.
A 20-year-old in a finals making an impact.
Great hair, too. Great hair.
So you listed a bunch there.
Sorry.
Pick
supposed to be one, Bill.
That's good. I asked for one.
Well, here, just so much going on. I'm like,
So it's hard to count. It's hard to count with everything going on. I get it.
So I'll attribute that. So
Okay,
Paul
Balacana.
And then Houston side.
Dom.
Dom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Off the bench, impact player. I mean, he's done it all his career in the MLR. Like coming off the bench. I think for me, on the New England side, it's hard for me to look past Jed Melvin.
Yes,
I think Jed Melvin is such an impact player for this team. Like what he does at the breakdown, what he does defensively, and then also what he can do offensively and just convert every time. You give him the ball in the 22, he will convert, and he always makes gain line. I think it's huge for this New England side, especially in this game. For Houston, I actually have been really impressed with Rufus McLean. I think he hasn't played all year and started all year, but when he came on, he became a guy that they couldn't not start.
Right.
And just the way that he's been playing, the way that he's been driving this back line forward and driving this offense forward, I think has been perfect for them.
I think you nailed it on the head, and I get it that it may be a cop-out toward what Bill was doing in terms of multiple players, but you talk about that back row room from a fantasy sense. You got Jed Melvin.
Yep.
You got Joe Johnson.
Yep.
And you got Vian
Karate, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And just top scoring back row players, right? You go down the list, right? 149.7 fantasy points for Vian Conradi, 140.3 for Jed Melvin, Joe Johnson, 130.8. Like, I mean, it's rare to have all three guys up there, but that just emphasizes the impact that these three guys had. So I'm right there with you. I think you say Jed Melvin, I'll say Vian Conradi up there. I think they've been fantastic in that slot. I also do want to give LaRue Milan a shout out because coming off of injury, last time we saw him was in the championship match, and when it was when he made his return, scoring that try in that game, and now he's had a full season of full health, and I think having him back has been massive, and that center room for New England is great. For the Houston side of things, I gotta say that tandem of Pete Aneasu and Seth Smith is just electric. Like, I mean, I absolutely, I love what they both bring to the field. Seth Smith, I'll maybe be a little bit more biased because he is a friend of the show, big supporter of the Fantasy Ruckers.
Yeah, he's got great hair.
Got great hair as well. So, Happy Hour Live.
There you go. So, I mean, they've been
So
fantastic.
You also can't count.
I also can't count. Bill opened the door, so I'm like, I'll do it. But we'll say Seth Smith and Vian Conradi.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys bring up guys that I think when we get into the tail of the tape, like you said, or when we get into looking at previewing this final, naming a lot of guys that are going to be impact players for this final, and I'm excited to get into it when we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we are live here at the Guild Pawtucket, where fans are starting to funnel in here and enjoy the pregame festivities ahead of the matchup between the Houston Sabercats and the New England Free Jacks. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun here as we continue to get ready for the championship match at 2 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Let's kind of now go into in terms of just between the Houston Sabercats and the New England Free Jacks, their supporter groups and what we've seen in terms of coming here and the traveling support that they get. The New England Free Jacks, like, you know best about these fans, and we were out there with them last night.
I mean, they don't have to travel here. All right, this is a home game.
I mean, many didn't have to stay overnight. They just an hour drive from Boston.
Like,
I mean, a lot of fans come up from northern New England as well, so it's a bit of a drive. But yeah, I mean, they are notorious for a well-traveling fan group. I mean, they have the First Regiment, which is a really great, done by the fans, not even from the team. You know, they've got investment in it. They take care of the players. You know, they have barbecues for the players, and there's so much they do, and they travel so well together. And it's a really good core group that's bringing in more and more people. So here at the Guild, in Pawtucket, easy trip. This is a home game for them, obviously, and they do so well. And Alex Magleby is really the one behind what makes all that work for the Free Jacks. Yeah. You know, the fans feed off of him. I mean, years ago when they were at a different stadium, Magleby actually wore a horse's head and ran around the field with a flag. All right, the dude was doing everything. Now he doesn't have to do that anymore, but I mean, that's just the mindset of the fans and the team. And so it's just, you look out here in the crowd, I don't see any Houston jerseys right now or any Houston gear.
Oh, they're outside, actually going outside and getting ready for today.
They like the humidity?
No, yeah, exactly. they're a little bit more used to the heat, I guess. But to that point, I mean, we did see a whole bunch of Houston Sabercats fans last night.
Absolutely,
and that's impressive. That's impressive. Like, I think that goes, sometimes lost in the mist. Where New England is right around the corner, so it's easier for these fans to come out there. But the fact that we're seeing as many Houston fans as we do,
they showed up in numbers,
impressive.
and they showed up ready as well. We can't forget they showed. We touched on the boat race.
Yep.
They showed up ready to win
won
that.
the boat race.
They tied, I guess, the first
Houston
one,
won, yeah.
but they won the second one. That's a good sign for Houston fans, I think, and that's a good sign for the
And that was a lot of
Sabercats
beer.
coming
Those fans may not be here today.
Well, they're sleeping in. They're taking a bit nap. They have a lot to go. It's a long day. You got to pace yourself.
Yes.
Right? It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And we're close, too. The Guild here is actually close. It's maybe a 12-minute walk, 15-minute walk. And they are doing shuttles for the fans. But it's actually easy to get to the stadium from here. So it's, thankfully for those people who did the boat races.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're waiting for some guests to possibly swing on by here and hopefully get them on relatively
Mr. Poland
soon.
walking through?
Yeah.
One of the injured free jacks coming through here. Got a few of the players.
A lot of people enjoying all the festivities here.
Yeah.
In terms of, why don't we do this? Let's take a short break. Take a break. And then we'll see if we can get some guests on here, and we'll figure out what we can do from there.
You're doing great,
Carosella. Contributing writer with Forbes. The man knows a lot about different sports. He's also covering rugby here in America and just the growth of it. And Vitas, thank you so much for being here and joining us. And how is this event for you? You enjoying it?
Yeah, really enjoying the event so far. I thought it was a decent crowd yesterday. Yeah. Good to see a lot of locals out and just a lot of rugby fans. Obviously, it being so close to New England, it being in New England and close to Boston, you get a lot of Free Jacks fans. So, yeah, it's just really nice to see people coming out and supporting the game. Good. So hopefully it'll be a good turnout today.
Yeah, and you've obviously been following the growth of rugby in America for quite some time, right? So to see an event like this where how many fans are coming out to this, the improvement of some of the festivities and the involvement in those festivities, in your opinion, in terms of the build-up to this championship, like how much does this reflect how much rugby has grown in America since it began, 4 or 5 years ago?
I think we're just seeing year on year that there's more and more people interested in rugby, more casual fans coming out, and I think that just shows that the growth of the game is trending in a positive direction, and hopefully it continues that way. It's good to see people of all ages and different demographics coming out, so hopefully that'll continue. Yeah.
And from your perspective, do you have thoughts on what U.S. needs to do next in terms of how can we keep going from here? Because I think one thing that we have to do as to grow the game is continue to innovate. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on what they need to do to innovate and continue to keep growing?
I think that's the $1 million question, right? That's what everybody's asking. I think every fan would have an opinion on that. Right. Honestly, I think just continue driving the game, continue pushing in the grassroots as well. To have more fans, you need to have more people who are aware of the sport, know how to play it, love it from a young age. And so really pushing the sports in elementary schools, in after-school programs, in other schools, in camps and whatnot, is getting those people in the door early so that a 5-year-old kid will say, hey, I want to play rugby as opposed to basketball or football or alongside those sports as well.
Right.
And then obviously operationally there's a million different things that you can do. I think obviously bringing the World Cup here, having the Olympics here, having the Women's World Cup here, it puts rugby in the spotlight. And we have to capitalize on that while it's here, but we also have to build that. I mean, World Rugby, USA Rugby, they talk about that long runway to these events. Yeah. We need to make sure that we prioritize them and capitalize on them before they even arrive.
100%.
Well, that was my follow-up, was the timeline. I know, again, to add on to the $1 million question, it's with the World Cup being around the corner. In your opinion, what is the successful timeline and how do you capitalize on that momentum to make sure that, we do maximize the growth within this 5-year span that we do have with the World Cup around the corner?
It's a great question. And I think really it depends on what your expectations are. So I think, it'd be a question for USA Rugby, it'd be a question for World Rugby of what do you want from these World Cups that are coming here, from these Olympics? Do you want a growth in the player pool? Do you want a growth in marketing here in the U.S.? Do you want more franchises being, expansion of the league here? What are we trying to accomplish? And then you'd have to build in those short-term objectives. I would imagine, I'm just speaking, from the outside looking in, we want some more clubs here, right? We want more teams in the MLR competing year on year. We probably want a better pathway for more talent. we also probably want to be able to attract high-level talent from around the world, right?
Yes.
Right.
Like, what would it do for MLR if instead of a Ma'a Nanu, who's coming here at the end of his career,
Right.
and he's been amazing, and
Yeah.
I love Ma'a,
Yeah.
but like, what would it mean if an Antoine Dupont was playing here, or a Bowden Barrett was playing here,
Yeah.
or a Henry Pollock who's just breaking through in England? What if
Right.
in 4 years he said, I want to go play in the U.S.
Right.
as opposed to France or Japan or somewhere else? Maybe those are unrealistic targets, or maybe those are the targets we should be setting for ourselves.
Exactly.
And during your writing and travel about rugby, are there certain parts of the nation that are maybe better at promoting the youth game or building from the academy younger level? Is there a part of the country, West Coast, New England, or is it just so scattered?
I think it is. It's a little scattered,
Yeah.
and I think it's hard to generalize by a region per se. There are places within those regions that do a really good job.
Yep.
The West Coast gets a lot of praise because it has a lot of the Polynesian immigrant mentality there. I just think there are places throughout the country, little pockets everywhere, that do a good job. We need to highlight those and learn from those, right? Like, there are places in the Midwest that are doing a great job. There are places in the Northeast that are doing a great job. The problem is they're very small pockets that, from my perspective at least, are not connected yet, right?
Yes.
And those, the things that they're doing well and are not being transferred to other places, perhaps.
Right.
And so we need to take that learning and that understanding from one pocket in the Northeast, let's say, or in New England, and make sure that can be used in the Deep South as well, or in the flyover states, or wherever across the country. I think we need to share the knowledge, basically.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you preparing an article for this weekend?
I am preparing.
So my name is spelled Pete.
I am preparing an article, possibly two. I came here kind of with the intention of just looking at MLR as a whole, the kind of a recap of the season. I might end up doing a piece on the game itself, so look out in Forbes. Might be just one piece on the championship and one on kind of a wrap-up of the season, where MLR is heading and where rugby in the U.S. is heading.
All right, and quickly, last thing, who are you cheering for? You don't have to say who's going to win.
No, actually, you do have to say
I
who's
think
going
that
to
might
win.
be an easier question for a journalist. That might be an easier question.
Well, I
So
mean, come on.
prediction.
Everyone can still cheer for a team, but when he writes, it should be
Okay,
unbiased.
so who do I think is going to win?
Sure.
It's hard to go against the Free Jacks. They're two-time
Okay.
defending champs. They look pretty strong, although last game was
Right.
a tight one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will lean towards the Free Jacks in terms of who I think will win.
Okay.
Who I want to win, I'll be honest and say I don't have an MLR team that I avidly support.
Yep.
So I'm just looking forward to enjoying the match.
Love that.
I do live in D.C., so if I had to pledge allegiance to anybody,
There you
it
go.
would be Old Glory.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Awesome. Well, wait, we got a
Awesome.
gift for you.
We do have a
Okay.
shirt
Yes.
for you. Is this a large?
So, yeah, I think so.
And meanwhile, be sure to check out Vitas Carosella on
you go.
Forbes.com.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you
so
so
other
much.
places.
Awesome.
Thank you,
And,
sir.
and look out
Yeah.
for those two articles, for sure.
Thank
Yes.
you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
We're really casual. We don't have a production.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you
Good
so
luck this
much.
weekend.
Awesome. Well, hey, awesome insight there in terms of
Super cool.
the coverage that Major League Rugby is getting. We do have now the funneling of guests coming in
Yes,
now.
the guests are just lining up.
And this is one we're really pumped to talk about.
are,
Brandon
for
Sparks.
sure.
He got us excited last
Yeah,
night. Well,
he did.
the guild.
There you go. Brandon, how's it going, man? How excited are you for today?
Yeah, pretty excited. We're T-minus 4 hours away from kickoff, I think, at this point. So, yeah, I was there until about 1:30 last night.
Oh, gee.
What most people would call micromanaging, I call strong leadership of the crew that was flipping it from soccer. But, yeah, no, it'll be exciting, especially, here and the rugby culture and community that exists here. You'll be hard-pressed to find anything better in the country than right here.
And last night we were speaking to you at one of the events, and you brought up some innovation that could possibly be happening next year. Can you share any of that with us?
Yeah, so, a lot of credit needs to go to the team that I get to lead. Aaron Castro, Amy Valenta, David Wilkinson, Kevin Battle. Those people, I came in, and it's easy for me as the captain to be this is our true north. We're going to go there. We really want things to become more fan first.
Yeah.
Make it accessible, make the rugby more accessible, easier to get to for everybody involved. But additionally, like if you look at the macro issues that are occurring in global rugby right now, there's a TMO issue. So we're looking at some pretty innovative things come 2026, led by David Wilkinson, who's phenomenal to work with, and we're lucky to have him as our director of referees.
Yep.
And then some, unique Americanisms, if you will, technology-wise. I don't want to.
Some people don't like that.
Yeah, I'll tease it, but I'm not going to break the news all the way.
Okay.
Well, in terms of that fan involvement, I think there isn't any better reflection of that than what we've experienced here yesterday at the Fan Festival. Obviously today with fans kind of pouring in here. I mean, talk about this weekend and the build-up to the championship today. It's more than just the 2 o'clock kickoff. It really has been, it sounds like, for the league to get people to buy into a weekend of festivities. You've seen it now in hand. I'm sure you guys have been working away and been pumped up for today. How fun has it been?
I mean, a lot of credit needs to be given to the commercial team led by Lucas Reed, who's the new CRO here. Yep. He brings a lot of experience from USA Hockey as well as the Dallas Stars. And like when he came in here, the first thing he said was like, we've got to do more than just a game and a VIP event. So this is the start of what should be a multi-year effort to make this more of a weekend experience. Jericho Gorland did a great job. Danielle Bassetti is really the superhero behind all of this weekend. So everything that anybody's going to get to experience in an MLR touch point today, credit needs to go to all of them. Like, I've got the easy part. I just got to make sure rugby is played. The rest of the team has done a phenomenal job all week doing this.
Hey, before you jump in, Matt, I'm sorry. We mentioned it earlier, actually, how welcoming everyone's been for us.
Yeah.
Right, just what can we do for you kind of thing, and it's just been a joy for us, and I know the fans are feeling it as well from everybody.
Yeah, like the RIFC has been phenomenal. Yeah. Like it is the most welcoming stadium I've ever worked in globally. Like not even just in America or the MLR, I'll say globally in my experience. And like they gave me a walkie-talkie today. I didn't ask for it. They also gave me a key card that gets me into all the rooms. I was like, guys, like, I really appreciate this, but I don't want this level of responsibility of your brand new stadium.
Don't want to break it.
Yeah. Exactly. Break it, I bought it, I guess. So,
So, the finals and this event is a great way to kind of put a bow on a great season that we had. And we were talking about it earlier, of like the parity in this league. Everything was just made to be one of the best seasons that we've had in the MLR. I wanted to get some of your thoughts as we look back on the year. Like, what were some of the great things that you thought happened this year? What's your kind of reflection on the season that was for the MLR?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. Like, so you guys understand the transition to me into this director of rugby role. I didn't take over until week 4.
Yeah.
A lot of credit needs to be given to Nish, who I've taken on part of his role, but he gave me a really good platform. I mean, some of the bigger points is like, let's talk about the parity this year. Like rolling into week 17, 9 of the 11 teams are still alive to do something, which was an incredible feat. And that's important because it makes it exciting for us. There's also some things like everybody, there's a bunch of rabble-rousers, and I lurk on the old Reddits. All right, I follow the Tweety Birds, all of that, the Tiki-Takis, and there was a large cry from the community about the number of scrums, given the scrum laws. I'm happy to report that there's been more scrums this year.
Wow. Okay.
So breaking news. The internet was wrong. But what? The first time
that doesn't
ever.
happen.
But I mean, overall, you're seeing somebody like Houston that's finally back in the final, which is good for entertainment value. Like, they've got a great story with the players there. Like, Pote Human is probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. I told him a cemetery joke yesterday when I was driving him to the hotel.
God.
He laughed hysterically. It wasn't that funny of a joke, and I appreciated him for that because the youth in the car rolled their eyes pretty heavily.
There you go.
So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Now, I guess looking into the championship this afternoon, what are you hoping to expect from the actual gameplay on the field? Obviously, fans are buying in and they're getting ready for. But what are your expectations? And I know it's a loaded question for you because you obviously have a different perspective on it. But what's your take on this afternoon?
I mean, professionally, I hope both teams have fun. Okay.
There you go.
Professionally, both teams have to have fun. That's I'm legally required to say that in my job description. But if you're looking at the matchup, it's a pretty contrasting style. Physically, Houston is the team. You watch them bully Utah last week. Maybe I'm not allowed to say that, but facts are facts. But then on the flip side, New England is so dynamic, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to what the kicking game looks like and who can win the possession. And then I think this is going to be a big set-piece battle this weekend. So for the traditionalists, the old tweed jacket and Guinness crowds will probably be excited and maybe rooting for Houston, while the flashy hair gel tank top wearing crowd is probably going to be rooting for New England.
And Brandon, finally, fans coming down here for the game, whether it's the Guild or the stadium, what should they be expecting? Like, what excitement should they be expecting?
Oh, I mean, I think the proximity of the Guild to the stadium is a big piece of all of this. So, like, you know, the crowd, they can come down here, they can actually walk to the stadium. We had the shuttle experience. There's going to be touch points with the players afterwards, so the champion will show up at the Guild afterwards, so they'll get that whole experience. You know, like, I'm accessible. I'm here obviously talking to you guys. Other people are telling me, you know, I've heard a lot of opinions, some facts, you know, but like overall, like the stadium experience, I think too, is going to be really cool. It's a close field, so you're going to be in the action. I've essentially lived there for the last 4 days. I've yet to find a bad viewpoint. And then, you know, obviously, like, the whole reason we're all here is for the rugby. And I think the rugby is going to be good. Like, both teams made it out of their finals healthy. They've got that same team rolling out this weekend, and like, both have got some pretty exciting firepower.
Awesome. Wait, we got a parting gift.
We got a parting gift for you.
We have a nice shirt for you.
So you're looking... You're looking good.
Yeah.
For you out. So there you go.
Love it,
Nice
guys.
so
Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon Sparks, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you again soon.
Appreciate it, Brandon.
See you there.
Yeah,
I'll get that from you, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Brandon
And
Sparks.
without hesitation, our next guest is here. He's lurking off camera. He's staring at me right now. And a man who is
the myth, the legend.
A man who has spoken to a few microphones.
There you go.
I love it.
I first want to say that we talked at the
Dallen,
beginning of the
Stanford,
show that we've been meeting a lot of people who have been talking with virtually over social media.
Yeah.
And we've been talking a little bit back and forth with Dallen. It's great to
Great to
meet
see you. Great to
see
meet you.
you.
Thanks for having me
Legend.
on. You know,
Yes.
fantastic. Love what you guys do. Love it. So
Thank
yeah.
you. Oh, same here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So.
What is your role this weekend? Why are you here?
So firstly, I used to live in Providence, Rhode Island.
That's right.
Yes,
Okay. Close,
so my wife and I, we lived here for a couple of years just after the pandemic time period. And then it is amazing when MLR announced that Rhode Island's going to be the host, so we thought we got to come back. My wife and I were in Portugal for a couple of weeks. I was an ambassador for the Algarve Sevens, and we came via New England to see her family afterwards. And MLR said, okay, well, can you do the Eastern Conference Final at my old fortress, Quincy, of course, as you know well. And then, I'm doing sideline again today with the crew, which is really cool. So the thing about the broadcasting is normally in MLR season, you're remote. And so you don't really get to be amongst it all and be live. So being sideline and working that role, I love it because you get to interact with everybody before and afterwards, which is so cool.
Let's reflect on this season, Dallen. I mean, it's been... We say, and I don't think it's a hyperbole to say that this, in our opinion, has been the best Major League Rugby season to date.
Great, yeah.
We talked about the parity. We talked about it really felt like any weekend was any given team could win. Being in the thick of it, what was your kind of thoughts on 2025?
I think you're so right. The fact that if you look at the win-loss record during the season for the teams tells you the story, which is, as you said, on the day, anybody can beat anybody. And I think when you get to that kind of level of competition, that's when a league does really well. You never want to have a situation where you're going in where you know a certain team's going to win. And that's kind of why I love the sevens. Because sevens, you don't know who's going to win. Sure. And the same is for Major League Rugby. So you're going to ask me later, who's going to win today? Honestly, I can see Houston winning. I can see New England winning. And so that's interesting, isn't it?
We're scratching that off of our list of questions. For no one's going to answer that, honestly. It's not like you're going to say, well, obviously, Houston by 3.
Well, listen, the other thing is also, when asked about predictions, my wife says to me, you better not predict anybody else against New England. And so we had a few drinks in Newport just down the road on the waterfront during one of the sunsets, and I said, listen, who's going to win? And she doesn't even know MLR at all, really. Right. But she's like, well, who's playing? I go, well, it's New England. She goes, they're going to win.
There you go.
Of course. Well, she's from the area as well. So have you been to Westport? Did you get over to Westport?
Yes, we exactly. Yes. We went to Westport recently, so we've been cruising around. It's just great to be back. And this time of year is so lovely. Of course, the fall is another great time. So just honored to be here, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, so, I mean, I got to start. Yeah. The nicknames you come up with are some of the best nicknames. Ryberg, what was it with the
quadricep with eyeballs? We have that cut on our show that we say all the time.
Yeah, and we love it. But I want to ask, so all your experience kind of broadcasting sevens, and then your experience now with the MLR, how does the fan base or your experience here versus sevens versus MLR, how does that compare? And what do you see as like almost like an opportunity for the MLR because sevens was obviously a huge global experience and global sport.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I've been involved for about 20 years in rugby here in the US, and the first question I got asked from my South African friends are, how is rugby growing there? And they only really see the on-field product.
Yeah.
And that's hard to judge, right? Because the women's and men's 15s side teams are obviously improving over the years. Right. The women particularly, of course. Yes. Sevens, bronze medalists, which is fantastic. Both teams are 2 in the world, so they see that. But what they don't see is the fan engagement on the ground, the community feel as well, which I think is so impressive. Right. That's one thing I've noticed in all the different cities I've been to and travel, is that you meet people that may have only learnt about rugby last month or a year ago and are obsessed with it. The young kids are throwing the ball around and also obviously saying, pretending to be Alona Ma or whoever the star is that they're watching. And I think that's exciting and galvanizing the community. And even here, we're now in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, walking on the streets and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to that thing later, the rugby thing? I'm like, yeah, I'll see you there.
Yeah,
so
there
it is really exciting and amazing to see that take off. And with Rugby World Cups coming here in 2031 and 2033 and the Olympics before that, honestly, I'm so excited for it all.
And just quickly,
go ahead.
A short question for you. Obviously, you're in the thick of it, watching it, calling it. Yeah. You ever call a game or on the sideline, you're like, you know what? I miss playing. Why am I not out? wait. Has that ever come to your mind?
So I tell you what, whenever you get to a new stadium and you walk around, you're like, wow, imagine playing here. Absolutely. Yeah. So I got a chance to do the last 2 Rugby World Cups, and one of my highlights was Ireland against South Africa at Stade de France, packed stadium, and walking around there going, what an honor it is for these players to be, also what an honor for me just to be talking about the game sideline. Right. But you're right, often you get that feeling when you're at a new stadium and it's a vibe, and it's no different. Today at Centerville Bank Stadium, spoke to Joe Johnston, and he said, this is an absolute cauldron. When you walk in there, he says, if you don't get fired up for rugby, you're in the wrong sport if you get to that stadium. Oh, yeah. Well said.
Grass pitch, right?
Yeah.
It is.
No, artificial.
Oh, it is artificial.
Pitch.
Okay, but
yeah.
the newer pitches, artificial pitches, feel like grass.
They really do.
Last thing for you, before I let you go, it's well known. Obviously, this is somewhat of a home match for New England, and you're in your travels, as I mentioned. Seattle does a great job with fan involvement. Yeah. San Diego, New England, obviously. Talk about others that really have stepped it up, and maybe things you've seen. Do they have post-game concerts? What are they offering?
Yes, that's a great question. Utah does a wonderful job. I got to be there a couple of times. Houston was fantastic. Yep. Los Angeles is improving their fan engagement. I think New England is my favorite only because it's good to come home, if you will.
Is, yes.
And speaking to the supporter groups as well before. I think what the main things are, people take it upon themselves and they come up with their own name. They come up with their own chants and songs. Free Jackson on Fire was one of the great ones last week. Yeah. I'm walking down the street and I'm like, oh, that's a classic. So they really take their identity to themselves and don't copy anybody else. Right. But authentically themselves. I think that's really good. And again, I would say all 11 franchises are doing a wonderful job in their own right to grow the game. And I think that's the key, where more and more people come and can touch the sport and see the game, because that's the biggest thing. Before MLR, there wasn't many places one could go and watch a live proper rugby game. Yes. And when I mean proper, well-organized, professional stuff like that. So I want to say hats off to all the teams in MLR. And again, hats off to you guys for growing the game.
Thank you. We do it for the money.
So you kind of called it, but here comes the question.
Yes, shoot it.
I will not ask you maybe directly what the prediction will be, but what are you expecting between these two teams this afternoon?
Yeah, so we know that Houston is unbelievably physical, chatting to their players and coaches as the build up to this. I expect them to be leading at halftime. I expect it to be a very intense set-piece battle, particularly with how things go at the line-out time for Houston. If they can get better results at line-out time and they can get some penalties against New England, I think they'll do really well. But saying all that, New England have such a deep bench. They have such a talented group. They mentally, I on the sideline was watching that last game, just couldn't believe their comeback. Because generally you get panicked when pressure is applied. They don't. So what they've done off the field has really been good and strong. And so I think it's going to be as tight as a facelift, but I think New England may come through.
There you go.
Dallen, Stanford, we got something for you.
We do have a gift for you.
Oh, get out of here, guys.
And you have to wear it at the
game.
Here
we go.
Today.
There we go.
There you go.
What? Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Loving that.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. So sleek. So sleek. Well, listen, thank you for having me on. So good to catch up,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good luck today and all the best. I'm sure we'll
Thanks
see you
very much, you stars. Appreciate you guys.
There you go.
Thanks,
Dallen, Stanford, everybody. I mean, they came in and just rolled all at once for us, which is great. They lined up, talked with us here on the show. Fantastic.
I think we were hoping for maybe Hooley to come, but I think they're getting
ready to start recording a pregame show on the other end of the guild. You can see the lights on there. pop it up so the fans can see that. You see the lights again.
By the way, I was going to say, we had some interviews on, but there was a Free Jacks fan that came in looking absolutely
He's got the glitter jacket.
Awesome.
Yes, he's amazing.
And I was sad that, happy that we did him, but I really wanted to get that on camera. But I'm sure he'll come back. Come back. I think before we round this out, though, we have to look at the tail of the tape here.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that because we talked with Dallen.
Before any more guests come screaming in.
We talked with Dallen, right? We talked with Brandon Sparks about kind of what their expectation is. Obviously, our word means just as much, right? Obviously,
of course.
We're just as knowledgeable about this game. So let's talk about our expectations for this afternoon's match. We've heard words like physicality, set-piece battle, the kicking game. Let's, I think, start off. Right, I want to lay the foundation for you two. I did a little bit of research last night, I do as the Fantasy Ruckers.
We didn't sleep last night.
No, not whatsoever. You know that I love my numbers when it comes to fantasy, and I think it's only fitting that I bring up some numbers for you guys here coming up. So we have a tail of the tape here in terms of what to expect here for the MLR Championship. So I went in, and the emphasis on how this game can go either way could not be more depicted than what we have here, right? You go down some of the key stats here: meters gained, tackles, total tries, line breaks, and that last one I should say tries there, or tries, total tries, line breaks, meters gained. It's all there. None of them are spread by more than a couple places within the rankings of the league. And you look at just how tight these two teams are and the emphasis on the way they play. Yes, they do it in a different manner, but the outcome seems to be the same, and it seems like these two teams are doing quite well at it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this here, and the one that stands out to me is the tackles. I mean, you look at how good New England Free Jacks are. Yes, they're a great dynamic team, and we talk about Houston's defense a lot. We talk about Houston's physicality a lot.
Yeah.
But people forget about just how physical that this New England Free Jacks side is. You look at their line speed. You look at how well that they make tackles. And you see here, you see it in the stats. Yes, visually you might see that Houston's more physical, but you see right here in the stats. Stats don't lie. New England Free Jacks are the ones that have been leading this category, and you've seen it all season.
Yeah, and even when you look at things that maybe not look so great, the things that they don't do well are almost identical, right? That last column there, turnovers, right?
Not me.
Both of these teams would want to be better in the standings for that, right? You hear the crowd going wild here. We'll cut to that quickly as everyone gets excited for the pregame show happening there. But the turnovers, that we saw, you compare that. Obviously, they would both like that to be a higher number or higher in the rankings unless that's happening. But even then, they're almost identical with that. So it's so close.
You're right, but you look at Houston made more tackles, right?
Yeah.
But you got to think of the reason for that as well. So maybe not as much ball in hand. Look at there's just different line breaks. New England has ball in hand more often. So that's a good stat, but is it a great stat? I mean, New England's a ton of tackles. They're physical. I mean, look at especially the pack.
Yeah.
Right? These dudes can hit and they can bring players down. And one thing I'm worried about, and I know it's not on here, it's not really a stat. It's the non-discipline that the Free Jacks have too often.
Yes.
And that I think to me, I don't know if we're at that point of the show, but that to me will be the difference.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times in these postseason games where Paula Balacana, Joe Johnson, the captain, did some hits off camera. Joe Johnson could have been out of that game against Chicago when he hit Dylan Fawcett. It was just almost a shoulder check. I'm surprised he didn't get a yellow card. That could hurt him. If they go down a player early for the yellow card, it's going to be really hard for New England.
Obviously, right, the tail of the tape is there, quite even. But let's take it a step further, guys. Let's take it another step. You're in our fantasy league, right? Yep. You're in the OG Fantasy Ruckers League. No, you're doing okay. But I broke it down, and fantasy is a great way. Our mission has always been trying to reflect the game in fantasy numbers as best as we can. I think we've gotten very close to that. Yep. So what I thought would be a great thing is take the lineups that these two teams are putting out this afternoon, and how do they compare position by position to each other when it comes to their performances. So you go down the line, right? Houston has the advantage in front row, second row, fly half, center, and their defensive set piece. But New England on the other side, their back row, scrum half, and back three have actually produced more points there. It's, once again, really close, 5-3. And even when you look at those numbers even closer, the discrepancy in those numbers are not that far. So in terms of the performances and the output that these players are doing, the players that you're going to see this afternoon, it's quite similar.
Well, and also if you look at the points difference between fly half and back three. The big difference there is Jason Patros.
Yes.
He's not in the. If he was playing all year long, that would be equal or whatever or more, because he's clutch. And the reason why the back three is higher is because they've been taking turns almost.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. So it's been interesting. Either way, for you guys, what are you guys expecting for this afternoon?
I mean, so everybody has said it. It's going to be physical. I think people are underestimating, like I said, just how good the New England Free Jacks defense is. I think both teams are going to be suffocating on defense. I think you're going to see a low-scoring game. Both teams are going to be coming off the line hard. Both teams are going to be coming off the line fast. And for me, the big impact or the big points of emphasis is exactly how Leroux Milan, Ben Lesage versus Sam Hill, Tuolatasi Tasi. I think that matchup there is going to be huge, because you look at the set piece play, they need to come off, they need to stick their one-on-one tackles. You look at the open play, they're going to have to come off the line and make sure that they're, monitoring that 13 channel, making sure that they stop Houston from getting it to the deadly guys like Drake Davis, like Rufus McLean, like Max Schumacher, and really keeping AJ Alatimu in check, kind of thing. So, And
one of the things with Houston, New England is well known for, reducing the gain line or getting behind the gain line and making their tackles. I mean, too many times you see ball out of the scrum from, say, Miami, and then before you know it, they're 20 meters back.
Yeah.
Houston needs to do the same thing. They need to be straight line up together on that and flirting with offsides.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing, is that you brought up Brock Webster. I think he's going to be so key for this New England Free Jack side, because the amount of opportunities he's going to get the ball in the back with with the way that Houston kicks, he's going to have to make some really good decisions, be really accurate off the boot, and make really good decisions on when to go and when to kind of push the play and push the pace. So I'm looking forward to that.
Weather's going to play a big part this afternoon. The rain is kind of looming around us right now, which is going to be interesting. So we'll see whether or not that kind of holds off here, towards the time of kickoff. You guys kind of touched on the dynamic style and how that's going to match up between these two teams. What I'll talk about is kind of the momentum these two teams are bringing in, right? Houston, I think, has turned it on at the exact right time. They have been so great in terms of how they picked up the pace. That dominant performance against the Utah Warriors was so impressive. New England just has a way to kind of hang around, and if you don't put them to bed, they are going to do a dangerous thing too in a comeback or whatever may that be. So I think New England, I have a little bit of doubt because of that performance against Chicago, but I've doubted this team before, and they have proven me wrong before, right? Yep. So I'm scared to make that judgment call when it comes to New England Free Jacks. For Houston, I think I mentioned on your show earlier this week, I have a lot of confidence in this team heading in because of the way they played. Yep. And it excites me on how they may step up to the plate for their biggest match in franchise history. It should be interesting in terms of the play that you guys are talking about and where that play stands heading into this match.
Yeah, and we've been waffling quite a bit here about the game, and I feel like we've been asking everybody else.
Well, it's also a lot going on here.
There is,
It's time for
my
us.
My ADD is kicking in.
So the line at the time of this show is 5.5 going in, right? So the Houston Sabercats are the underdogs heading into this one. But let's talk about if that fits for you and what you think is going to be the outcome. Let's make our official predictions here. I've been stalling all week long for this point. I'm going to go last here, so whoever wants to take the mic.
I'll go. So I'm going to take Seattle Seawolves and. What's going on? Oh. I do think it's a squeaker. It's going to be a 3-point game. It's going to be late in the game. I'm being very specific about this. I'm thinking a 32-29 game. It's going to be high scoring. Either the Free Jacks score with a late game penalty from a tie score up by 3, or they're down by 2 and they score an unconverted try in the corner by Paula Balcano. It's just going right there.
I'm going to go.
Hey, by the way, if that's true, I'm going to go put some money down on
that. I have a really hard time rooting against Houston in this match. I just think that they are that they're going to be so good defensively, and that I think it's going to keep it low. Opposite to what you said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I actually think it's going to be something like 18-16 for Houston. I'm going to go Houston with this one.
Okay, so we got Houston, New England.
Yep.
I'm kind of in the middle, but I do think it's
there is no middle here.
No, I'm
there
saying
is
from
no
a score
tie.
perspective. 24-21 for me.
Okay.
In favor of drumroll, please.
One of the teams.
The Houston Sabercats.
All right, fair enough. It's going to be either way. It's going to be a great game.
I think it's going to be a fantastic game. We're set up. All the festivities that have happened here. Again, we'll take one final look at the Guild Pawtucket here.
Let's start
We're
recording.
just about to start the pregame show here with Will Hooley. And all the fans are pouring in. We cannot wait to kind of join everyone out there. And again, it's been fantastic, right? Everything's been. So New England,
there they go.
You can hear the signs, college game day feel over there. And we're so excited for this.
I am too.
It's going to be great.
And if you watch this before the game and you see us here and you see us at the game, come say hi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Bill, you have anything left to say to the people?
Huzzah.
There you go. Matt, I'll leave it to you.
No, just have a good time. I think it's going to be a great game. We've had some great guests. This has been an awesome experience.
Yeah, great work with you too also. It's been a great time.
Absolutely. And many more to come for sure. It's been a fantastic journey.
And just kudos to the MLR and everybody a part of the MLR who has done all the work to put this on. So
There they go.
We handed off here to the pregame show here at the Guild Pawtucket.
They're waiting for us to stop recording so they can go live.
So for American Rugby Rising's Bill Baker, Fantasy Ruckers' Matt Yee, I'm Ryan Yee. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're so excited for this kickoff show. It's going to be a good one. Have fun.
See you guys.
Yeah, later, guys.